Okay, good morning to everyone. Today, in previous class, we have already seen uh, that how we can calculate the time function and space functions of an algorithm, and the how a simple statement is executed for how many times it required. Today, we will see that how frequency count method is used to find the time functions of an algorithm. For in the previous class, we have seen that for executions of a simple statement, how many times is required. In today's class, we will see that for executions of a loop, how many time is required for executions of a particular loop. For looping statement, we will see how time functions for calculation of the time functions. Now, for example, here I have shown that there is an algorithm. This algorithm is based on the number of, it is the array, and inside this array, n number of elements are present, and we are calculating the sum of the n number of elements in an array. This algorithm suggests that. So for defining this type, we have used that algorithm sum a comma n. Now you see that we are in this example. You have seen that the number we are performing the addition of the number of elements present in an array. Now to define this in an algorithm, we have written that algorithm sum a comma n. A is the name of the array and n is the size of the array. Then you can see that s equal to 0. It is defined s equal to 0. We already know that at first during declaration, the sum value is declared as 0 in case. So here it is sum value is declared as 0, that is s equal to 0. Now for executions of this statement, one unit time is required. In previous class, we have seen that for execution of a simple statement, it requires 1 unit of time. We consider it that it requires 1 unit of time. That's why s equal to 0, we consider 1 unit of time. Next, the number of elements will be added. So for this, a loop will be required, and that's why we use for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. And inside the loop, we are performing the addition. One by one elements are taken of an array and the sum are performed. Clear? So now you can see that for executions of this loop, first I equal to 0. This is a simple statement. So for a simple statement, 1 unit of time is required. That is why in below it is written 1. Next, I less than equal to n. This is the condition of the loop. Now you can see that for executions of this loop, if n is required, then the number of times the loop will be executed n plus 1. How? If you consider n equal to 5, I am considering that n equal to 5. So first the condition will be checked, that 0 less than equal to 5. So one time the loop will be executed. Then I will be incremented and I value will be 1. So 1 less than 5, that means the loop will be again executed. So after that, I value will be incremented. That is 2. 2 less than equal to 5. So the statements will be executed. Then again 3 less than equal to 5, 4 less than equal to 5, and 5 less than equal to 5. Whenever the condition will be 5 less than equal to 5, the loop will stop execution. But you see that it is already executed. The condition is checked. So the condition, how many times the condition is checked? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Means 6 times. Whenever the I value is 5, the loop will not be executed. But you see that the condition is checked. That means if the value is n, then the condition will be checked n plus 1 time. That's why it is written n plus 1 time. And I plus plus means I value, number of times the I value will be incremented. I value will be incremented n number of times. See, first 0. 0 is previously defined. So first time I value is incremented 1. So 1 time, then 2, 2 time, then 3, 3 time, then 4, 4th time. And after, whenever the value is incremented 5, after that, there will be no implementation because the loop will be false, and that's why the loop will stop execution. So I value, number of times the I value will be incremented n times. So during this, we will say that the loop will be, we only consider whenever there is loop, we consider the number of, based on the condition, the number of times the loop will be executed. We only consider it that the number of times the loop will be executed, it is based on the condition checking. That's why you see that we have omitted these two values 1 and n and only written n plus 1. So if there is n number of times I less than equal to n, then the loop will be executed n plus 1 time. And inside the loop, the statement present inside the loop, how many times it will be executed? N number of times. So that's why its value is n. And then you can see that return is, this is a simple statement. That's why 1 is written. So if the loop is like that, if loop is less than n, then we can say that the number of times the loop will be executed is n plus 1. We are using the simple example. See that using this simple example, if we consider 5, then the number of loop will be executed 6 times. Why? Because you can see that first 0, then I will be implemented 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. But after that, the value of 5 is incremented to the value of 5, but the condition is false. That is the other case. But I value is incremented to 5. That means the number of time the condition is checked 6 times. So that's why the loop value is n plus 1. And inside the loop, the number of statements are present will be n times. The number of statements will be executed n number of times. Because in n plus 1 time, the loop will be false. So inside the loop, the number of statements will be executed in n time. And the loop is n plus 1. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's why the loop value is n plus 1. And the number of statements, the statement present inside the loop is n. And return s is the simple statement. So that's why it is executed 1. It's 1 unit of time is required. We say that 1 unit of time is required. So our total time functions will be fn equal to, that's why 1 plus 1, 2. So this is 2n, n plus n, 2n plus 3. This is the time function. Now, if you can see that the time function is in polynomial form, this is a polynomial form, 2n plus 3. Then you have to check highest degree of an n. You can see the highest degree of an n is n. That's why it will be order of n. The value will be in order of n. So that's how the time function is calculated. Now, in space function, In space function, what we have done, we have to first find out number of variables present in the algorithm. We have to find out the number of variables present in an algorithm. You can see the number of here that our number of variables is A, N, S, I. This is the number of variables are present in the algorithm. And A is the array. So the space it is required and array size is N. So the space required will be N. And the value N, the space required will be one word. S sum, this is also a simple statement. So its space required is one word. And I, this is also a simple statement. Its space required is one word. So the total time space will be Sn equal to n plus 3. Now this is all a simple and single variable. That's why it is 1 unit of time. But A is an array and the array size is n. So n number of memory space is required. That's why this is used as or represented as n. And the in case of other variables, the value is 1. So Sn equal to n plus 3. The total, if we perform the addition of this, then it will be Sn equal to n plus 3. Now, this is also a polynomial function. And in case of polynomial function, we have to see the highest degree. In case of highest degree of n, it is n. So that's why it will be order of n. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's how for a loop, it will be time function and space function is calculated like that. Clear? Next, like this type of examples. Next example, I have taken a two-dimensional matrix, and in this algorithm we are performing the addition of a two-dimensional matrix. Here for a algorithm, add A, B, N. That means there are two-dimensional matrix, n cross n matrices, and A is a two-dimensional matrix, B is a two-dimensional matrix, and n is the size. So n cross n, we can say n cross n. And we are performing in this algorithm addition of two-dimensional matrix. That's why for addition of two-dimensional matrix, two loop will be required. So that's why you can see I and J. These two loops are represented. For I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. And again, for J equal to 0, J less than n, J plus plus. And after inside this two loop, there is a C. This is a two-dimensional matrix inside which the addition of these two-dimensional matrix A and B's value are stored in this C two-dimensional matrix. Now, how we can calculate that? Now, I have told that for the execution of a loop, n plus 1 number of time required. That's in the previous example I have shown. So, first, this loop will be executed n plus 1 time. And the statement present inside a loop, how many times it will be executed? N number of times. So, 1 minute. So, first we will consider this loop. So, we are considering this loop. So, for execution of a loop, if the value is n, then n plus 1 time is required for execution of a loop. But the statement present inside a loop will be executed n number of times. Now, in this loop, inside this loop, there is two statements. One is this loop and another is this statement. So at first we say that it will be executed n number of times.
In number of times.
N number of times. But after that, it is also a loop. It is an inner loop. So for inner loop, for this loop, our required time will be n+1. In that case, there is the outside loop, and outside loop, there is two statements, that is this and this. So at first, it is executed n number of times, but this is also a loop. So it will again be executed, and it will be executed n+1. And we know inside of any loop, if there is a statement inside of any loop, it will be executed n times. So that's why again n. Clear? Because it is inside this, there is a upper loop and there is a inner loop. There is an outside loop and there is an inner loop. That's why this type of shown. Clear? Clear?
लास्ट वाला एल्गोरिथम थोड़ा समझा दीजिए.
Sir, one more time.
हाँ, ये जो हम लोगों का ये लूप है, ठीक है. अब फर्स्ट ये क्या है, एक ये टोटल लूप बाहर का लूप है, और उस लूप के अंदर और एक लूप है, एंड देन उस लूप के अंदर मेरा जो है वो स्टेटमेंट है. सो फर्स्ट वी कंसीडर दिस लूप. This loop will be executed n+1 time, and we know that inside of any loop, the number of statement present will be executed n time. So in this case, our outside loop, this is the outside loop, and inside this loop, there is two statements. We consider it as a statement. This is a statement, this is a statement. So at first it will be executed n times, but this is again a loop, this is again an inner loop. So we know that if a loop is executed, it will be executed n+1 time. That's why n cross n+1 we have written, and inside of any loop it is executed n times. So that's why n into n. समझ में आया कि हम लोगों का जो ये क्या है, एक बाहर लूप है, एक अंदर का लूप है. तो बाहर का लूप हम लोगों का क्या होगा, फर्स्ट n+1 टाइम एग्जीक्यूशन होगा, और उसके अंदर क्या है, उसके अंदर ये एक लूप प्रेजेंट है और ये एक स्टेटमेंट प्रेजेंट है. तो ये क्या होगा, ये n नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स फर्स्ट जब हम लोग बाहर का लूप कंसीडर करेंगे, तो ये क्या है, उस लूप का इनसाइड स्टेटमेंट है. तो फर्स्ट टाइम क्या होगा, n टाइम एग्जीक्यूशन होगा उसका. बट हम लोग जो नेक्स्ट टाइम जब इसको कंसीडर करेंगे, तो ये तो फिर एक और एक लूप है. तो ऐसे लूप होगा मींस इसका खुद का ऐसे n+1 एग्जीक्यूशन होगा, और उसके अंदर स्टेटमेंट है, तो उस स्टेटमेंट का क्या होगा, n नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स एग्जीक्यूशन होगा. क्लियर?
यस सर, यस सर.
तो ये हम लोग ऐसे जब दो लूप हम लोग कंसीडर करेंगे. अब इस जगह में अगर हम लोग 3 लूप्स कंसीडर करते हैं, मानो कि मेरा 3 लूप है, तो फर्स्ट टाइम क्या होता, फर्स्ट टाइम ये n+1 होते, और जो इनसाइड और दो जो लूप है, उस लूप के लिए क्या होगा, फर्स्ट सब n हो जाएगा. नेक्स्ट टाइम ये हम अभी एग्जांपल में दिखाएंगे, अभी एग्जांपल में हम दिखाएंगे कि क्या तीनों टाइम में क्या होता है. नाउ टू कैलकुलेट द स्पेस फंक्शन, ये तो हम लोगों का टाइम फंक्शन गया. दोस्तों टाइम फंक्शन, इसका अगर एडिशन करोगे तो देखोगे 2n² + 2n+1 ये आते हैं. बट we only, what I have said, that we have to consider it is a polynomial function, and that's why you have to consider the highest degree of n. Now the highest degree of n is n², so it will be order of n². We have to consider the highest degree, and highest degree is n². So that's why it is, we can say that it is an order of n². And in case of calculation of a space function, now in space function we have to take how many variables are present there. Here, this is 1, this is 1, and C, this is also a variable, and then N, I, or J. These three are also a variable. So first, these are considered. Now, A is a two-dimensional matrix, n cross n, so n square. B is also a two-dimensional matrix, that's why n cross n, it is also n square. And C, after addition of these two-dimensional matrix, we are storing the value is this C. C is a two-dimensional matrix also. Either we didn't able to store that, we do not able to store this addition into this variable. So that's why C is also a n cross n matrix. That's why n square. And n, I, j, this is simple variable. That's why one word or one memory space is required. So then we can calculate it. After calculating it, the value will be 3n square. Means we will we'll add these values. After adding these values, there will be 3n square plus 3. Now, this is a polynomial function, and the highest order of n is n square. So the space functions will also be in the order of n square. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if if there is 3 loops, which I am talking, there is 3 loops. If there is 3 loops, like during the multiplication of an two-dimensional matrix, you have already seen that there is a 3 loops required. So in that case, what will be the 3 loop and how many times it will be executed? That first the algorithm multiply, because it is the multiplication of a two-dimensional matrix. So algorithm multiply a comma b comma n. So these two-dimensional matrices are considered. One is a and another is b. Okay. So after that, this is a loop for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. And inside this loop, there is also a j loop for j equal to 0, j less than n, j plus plus. And inside this, we are considering Cij equal to 0. And for k equal to 0, k less than n, k plus plus. And inside this total multiplication is performed. Clear? So at first, how many times the loop will be executed, how we consider it? So first time, we will consider about this loop. So for execution of this loop, there the value is n. So the loop will be executed n plus 1 time. And inside this loop, all the things present will be executed n number of times. So that's why you see at first time it is, this loop is also n, this statement is also n, this loop is also n, and this is also n, because we are considering first this outside loop, and inside this loop all the things present will be executed n number of times. That's why at first it is n, it is also n, it is also n, it is also n. Next time we are considering this loop. We are considering this loop. So we know that loop will be executed if the value is n, then the loop will be executed n plus 1 time. So n plus n, n cross n plus n. And inside this loop, the number of statements present inside this loop will be executed n number of times. So that's why here n, again here n, again here n. Clear? After that, this loop is considered. After that, this loop is considered. So for this loop, k less than equal to n. So it will be executed n plus 1 time. So n cross n plus 1. And inside this loop, these statements will be executed n number of times. So that's why n. Clear?
Yes, sir.
समझ में आया सबको कि क्यों कैसे हम लोग स्टेप बाय स्टेप इसका हम वैल्यू कलेक्शन किए, इसका नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स लूप विल बी एग्जीक्यूटेड कैसे हम लोग किए.
Yes, sir.
Sir, once more, please.
हाँ. First, we are considering this loop. At first, there is 3 loops present. First, we are considering this loop for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. So, if I less than n, if any there is n related, then it will be executed n plus 1 time. Clear? And inside this loop, the number of statements present inside this loop will be executed n number of times. So that's why it is n. It is also n. 1 minute. I will clear it, then it will be easy to understand. So first we are considering this loop. It will be executed n plus 1 time because I less than equal to n, whichever I have discussed that if this is less than n, then the loop will be executed n plus 1 time. Now the number of statements present inside a loop will be executed n number of times. So in this case, this is a statement inside this loop, so it is executed n times. This statements will also be executed n times. This statements will also be first executed n times, and this statements will also be executed n times. Next, we will consider this loop. We will consider this loop, and this loop will be executed n plus 1 time. And inside this loop, the number of statements present inside the loop will be executed n number of times. So in this case, there is this statement is inside this loop, so it will be executed n times. This is also inside this loop, so it will be executed n times. This statements will also be inside this loop, so it is executed n times. After that, this loop is considered. After that, this loop is considered. Now, this loop will be executed n plus 1 time. And these statements will be executed inside of any loop. The statements will be executed n number of times. So that's why the total will be, these statements will be executed for execution of this statement. For this loop, it will be n plus 1. For this loop, it will be n into n plus 1. For this statement, it is n squared. For this loop, it will be n into n plus 1. And for this statements, it will be n into n, means n cube. Now it is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's how we calculate it. Now we will add all the values, and after addition, the time function will came like that. Fn equal to 2n cube plus 3n square plus 2n plus 1. So this is a polynomial function, and in case of polynomial function, the highest degree of n is the calculated. So highest degree of n is n cube. So we'll consider only that it will be of order of n cube. So the time function will be order of n cube. Now, in case of space function, What will be the case of space function? In space function, in case of space function, you see, at first, we will have to consider it that at first in space function, how many variables are present in the algorithm? This is how many times variable is present. So A, B, C, N, I, J, K. This total variables are present inside the algorithm, and A is a n cross n matrix, two-dimensional matrix. B is also a two-dimensional matrix, n cross n. C is also a two-dimensional matrix, n cross n. That's why n square, n square, n square. And n, I, j, k, all these variables are a simple variable, and it requires 1 unit of time. That's why all the values are 1. And then we will calculate this, all the values we will calculate, we'll add all the values, then it will be 3n square plus 4. And highest degree of n is n square, so it will be order of n square. So our time function is in the order of n cube, and our space function is in the order of n square. So one thing, always one thing you have to clear in mind during loop, if that is less than n or equal to n, you can dry run it. Dry run it means if there is put some value of n and try to execute the loop. Put some value of n and try to execute the loop. And based on the condition in the loop, the number of times the loop will be executed. And in case if there is inner loop, then at first time the inner loop will be if there is outer loop, then inner loop, then a statement present. Then at first the number of times the outer loop will be executed is considered, and inside loop is considered as a statement at first time. After that, so that's why you have seen that first time it is we consider our outer loop as n plus 1 time, and that time all the loops or statements present, it is present inside the outer loop. So that's why all it is considered first time it is n. Then in again, whenever the I will execute the loop, it will be n into n plus 1, then again n into n plus 1 into n plus 1, like that. So always try to remember the thing that how many times the loop will be executed. Consider it using putting some values of n. Then it will be clear to you, and it will be easy to consider it. Clear? It is clear. So how we have calculate the loops value? All the
Yes, sir.
examples are shown.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's how all the loops values are considered. Now you can see that you have already know that for time complexity, for execution of a loop like that, we know that for if there is I value is I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, then the loop will be executed n plus 1 time. And inside this loop, the statements will be executed n times. So you can see that when we are calculating the time function and space function, we are considering the order of n. But if you minutely see that the number of times the statements is executed is considered as the order of n. See that if our loop is executed n plus 1 time, then the statements is executed n number of times. So our total fn will be 2n plus 1, but the highest degree of value is of n is n. So that will be in order of n. So without doing that, we also use that, we can also say the number of times the statements of a loop is executed, it will be the order of n. It will be our order value. Because if the statements is executed n plus 1 time and this statement is executed inside of this loop, the statements is executed n number of times. So we can directly say that the number of times the statements is executed will be the order of n. Same as that, in this case, you can see for I equal to 1, I less than n, I equal to I plus 2. And inside this loop, there is a statement. And this statements will executed n by 2. How? If you put some value, n value, like if we put value n as 5. Okay. So 1 less than equal to 5. So the statements will be executed. Then I value will be implemented, and then I value will final I value will be I equal to I plus 2. So I value will be 3. 3 less than equal to 5. Yes. So the statements will again be executed. After that, 3 plus 2, I value will be 3 plus 2, I value will be 5. 5 less than 5? No. The statements will not be executed. So you can see that how many times the statements is executed? Only 2 times. And we are considering 4 variables. 4 times. We are considering this loop as a 4